Vintage transistor radio repair. So we have this in to be fixed. It's a little branded RCA. There's nothing RCA about this. Made in Hong Kong. It does have an earphone jack. And of course there were a billion of these made of this basic type. This is actually, looks like it's got silicon transistors. It's got one of those silicon domes right there, another one there. I don't like those. They seem to have a high failure rate. The epoxy dome transistors, like that. These, they do go bad, but very rarely. The more modern style. It is a model RZG 10, or is that a 102N? Ooh, sun gold. So being an RCA, there's probably service data available, and I probably have it, but these are so simple and so easy to fix and diagnose. Usually it's not worth the time to go dig through and find it. Looks like we have 4 electrolytics. Let's power it up and see what the symptom is. Okay, we got power hooked up, and I'm 9 volts here. Double check this. 3, 6, 9. And I noticed when I turn this on, but the interesting thing is that it's making noise like that. There's stations coming in. Look at that. Current draw is coming down. What's getting hot in here? Okay, I'm going to turn this on. Let's see what gets hot in here. 80 milliamps. And whatever it is right there. Is it that transistor? So it looks like on the FLIR, what's getting hot is something right here. So possibly that transistor. I don't think it's one of those resistors because it would be smoking, but it could be an open resistor causing that transistor to get hot. Or a shorted capacitor. I've seen that too. I guess I should take a second to explain a few things here while the soldering iron is warming up. I'm going to pull that transistor out and check it. I've learned that when working on these radios, always to use a current meter and an auxiliary a power source, which in this case I'm using lithium iron phosphate batteries, which are about 3.3 volts per cell. So this will give me the, all the way 3, 6, 9, 12 for running these old radios. And a 9-volt, a radio like this that's designed to run on a 9-volt battery should really, with the volume all the way down, should really not exceed 5 or so milliamps just sitting there running. A 9-volt battery doesn't have much capacity, so you don't want a bunch of current draw. This thing would eat a 9-volt battery in 5 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes, and everything would get hot and burn up. Obviously it's direct drive because it's got a 60 ohm speaker. So it's going to make a fool out of me for saying those style transistors never go bad. But I don't want to accuse a transistor of being bad. It could definitely be something else. It is interesting that the current draw started out at 100 and then came down to 80. Maybe the transistor needs to reform. So anyway, they make all kinds of fancy radio analyzers with the current meters, and I have those. I've used those in previous videos. But for me, I like just using this kind of simple setup. And yeah, a 9-volt battery radio should really be about 5 milliamps, and then your radios that run on C and D cells, they can run up around, 15, 20 milliamps, 20, 25 on FM. But for something like this, you want the current draw to be very low. It should never really exceed 5, 10 at the absolute max. Okay. I actually found another problem that could be causing this. Oh yeah, that's no longer a transistor, is it? One side of the inner stage transformer's open. I measured it with an ohm meter. Should be 2 coils. Wait a second, how many wires come out of this? 3 or 4? Looks like 4. Maybe I'm pulling a J.J. Cruise here. Stand by. Okay, my apologies. It's 4 wires. So we got 1 coil from here to here, 1 coil from here to here. I thought it was only 3. So that transistor is definitely shorted. So make a fool out of me, why don't you, when I say that those transistors never go bad. Make stupid look me. I'm going to take the other one out. We'll see what it looks like. Oh boy, this one's shorted too. Both of these things are dead shorted. Well, I wonder what they were. PNP, NPN. What did that say? Self-test mode? No. That's interesting. That transistor is so shorted, the thing thinks you're putting it into self-test mode. Measuring the speaker is 56 ohms. So I don't think it's shorted. Okay, so the question here is, why are these transistors shorted? That's not a common thing, like I said right at the beginning of this video. It's common for these style right here to go bad. I've seen that before. But not shorted. I don't think I've ever seen a shorted transistor in a small radio like this, to where it was burning up. So I'm a little bit, this checks okay. There's 2 diodes here. I can't really check them because they appear to have a 500 ohm resistor paralleled with them. I'd like to try and figure a date code on this thing. Should I crawl in the garage and look for the service manual, or should I try and wing it and figure it out? I mean, I know where the base is. They look like PNP from the symbolism here. And they also, the numbers on them look like those. Just let me put that into Google, 9012 transistor. Is that one of those generic, like 2N20, 222? Well, this actually seems to be a thing here. It's just a PNP transistor. Let's see what this says. "1 watt audio output in portable radios." That's probably it. Boy, am I shaky. Let me try and spice that up a little bit. There we go. Does that make the video better? If I get in a little closer, how's that? That's got to be it. So it goes emitter base collector. I think I might have something like this. Me make shaky. So what I've done just for testing purposes is I've clipped my speaker on to one side of the inner stage transformer. So we're just listening to the driver transistor right now. That's a pleasant sound. Hopefully you have headphones on. Almost sounds like the AVC capacitor is bad. A viewer sent me this really cool collection of transistors, and in here we have PNP General and NPN General. I wonder what these are. 2N4250. Let me look that up. Those are really not audio output transistors. They're a 200 milliwatt maximum. I found something I think will work here. This is 2N3906. PNP. It's about the same specs. This is just a general purpose transistor. The pinout of the 2N3906 looks the same as the 9012 emitter base collector. So these should just drop right in. Okay, our new transistors are soldered in. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to start off with I had these little light bulbs to use as limiters, but I don't know where I put them. So at 3 volts we're at hardly anything. We'll go to 6 volts. 6 volts we're at hardly anything. Go to 9 volts. 9 volts we're at hardly anything. That sounds really good.
Economic sanctions. The Western world has come together to provide for the people of Ukraine with incredible levels of military, economic, humanitarian assistance. In the years before the invasion, we Americans had sent over $650 million before the in weapons to Ukraine, including anti-air and anti-armor equipment. Since the invasion, America's committed another $1.35 billion in weapons and ammunition.
Devalue my currency, Daddy. Devalue my currency.
The equipment we sent and our colleagues have sent have been used to devastating effect to defend Ukrainian land and airspace. Our allies report.
Okay, so the squealing is usually a bad AVC filter capacitor. And just by looking at this, I'm going to assume it's this one right here.
My God, what's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to my family? I saw tears in many of the mothers' eyes as I embraced them. The young children, not sure whether to smile or cry. One little girl said, "Mr. President," she spoke a little English, "and my brother and my daddy, are they going to be okay? Will I see them again?" Without their husbands and fathers, in many cases the brothers and sisters who stayed back to fight for the country. I didn't have to speak the language or understand the language to feel the emotion
Ooh.
in their eyes when they grip my hand.
Wonder what engineering think tank this speech came out of.
Praying.
Tavistock Group?
All this is temporary. Apprehension that they may be perhaps forever away from their homes. Almost a debilitating sadness that this is happening all over again.
Debilitating sadness.
Struck by the generosity of the people of Warsaw, for that matter, all the Polish people, for the depths of their compassion, their willingness to reach out, opening their hearts
Okay, so we need a new 10 microfarad capacitor here.
to humanitarian aid. The World Food Program told us that despite significant obstacles, at least some relief is getting to major cities in Ukraine.
You know, what do they have him pumped up on right now?
Not Mariupol,
What kind of
because Russian forces are blocking relief
good
supplies.
narcotics do they have
Will
him?
not cease their efforts to get humanitarian relief wherever it is needed in Ukraine.
Because he kind of sounds like a preacher right now.
Notwithstanding the brutality of a NATO presence on his border, but now he has a stronger presence, a larger presence, with over 100,000 American troops here, along with all the other members of NATO. In fact, Russia has managed to cause something I'm sure he never intended. The democracies of the world are revitalized
Yeah.
with purpose and unity found in months that we've once taken years to accomplish.
Yeah.
It's not only Russia's actions in Ukraine that are reminding us of democracy's blessing. It's our own country, his own country, the Kremlin, is jailing protesters. 200,000 people have allegedly already left. There's a brain drain leaving Russia.
Brain-
Shutting down independent news.
Brain drain?
It is all propaganda. Blocking the image of civilian targets, mass graves, starvation tactics of the Russian forces in Ukraine. Is it any wonder, as I said, that 200,000 Russians have already left their country in 1 month? A removal treaty was already made. She thinks crystal clear. First, Europe must end its dependence on Russian fossil fuels. And we, the United States, will help. The darkness that drives autocracy is ultimately no match for the flame of liberty that lights the souls of free people everywhere. Time and again, history shows that it's from the darkest moments that the greatest progress follows. And history shows this is the task of our time, the task of this generation. Let's remember the hammer blow that brought down the Berlin Wall. The might that lifted the Iron Curtain were not the words of a single leader. It was the people of Europe who for decades fought to free themselves. Their sheer bravery opened the border between Austria and Hungary for the pan-European picnic. They joined hands.
Okay, so when you listen to something like this,
They stood for solidarity here in Poland. And together, it was an unmistakable, undeniable force in the people.
sounds like it might be a little bit underbiased for these transistors.
And we're seeing it once again today. The brave human.
But when you listen to something like this, an engineered speech with a bunch of big scary words that came out of a think tank, and that where they have this intentional reverb behind it to make it sound more authoritarian,
Words of Pope John Paul born as
you have to crank it all the way up so it clips like this.
Never doubt Be not afraid. A dictator bent on rebuilding an empire will never erase a people's love for liberty. Brutality will never grind down their will to be free. Ukraine will never be a victory for Russia. For free people refuse to live in a world of hopelessness and darkness. We will have a different future, a brighter future, rooted in democracy and principle, hope and light, the decency and dignity of freedom and possibilities. For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power. God bless you all, and may God defend our freedom, and may God protect our troops. Thank you for your patience. Thank you.
Thank you for your patience. What? Your patience in having to listen to that?
Welcome back to KFI, or at least my part of KFI.
But yeah, see, they use all these engineered big words and they make it sound scary. And then the way they do the audio is they have a bunch of echo, so it sounds like it's in a theater or a big forum. They give it that big room. So anyway,
I must add to this, and I will do that in a moment, share that with you. And, well, I'll share that with you now, okay? Because it's predicated on something that he had said several times during the speech in reference to the United States and the Western world, the democracies of the world, that he called the moral democracies, and that is, we are with you. He said that a couple of times. We are with you.
anyway.
He went through the entire litany of the help that Ukraine is getting, arms from NATO and Western Europe, Canada, from all over the world. And the humanitarian aid. And of course, thank you to people who have just been
I'm just trying to see if it's underbiased. If it's underbiased, it'll sound a little distorted at low levels. Okay, so we had 2 bad transistors and 1 open capacitor, the AVC filter. It's been replaced. So let's do a quick channel sweep. I know it actually sounds pretty good.
No more today. I'm gonna be here all day. Crypto, 2021, and nearly half of all advisors personally own Bitcoin or other.
A couple guys that kind of are masons, want to do a little side gig.
And when it was asked why, they said, well, our lawyers said not to.
You can make your donation quickly and easily with any credit card. I would say you're going to need a minimum of 6 months.
Compelling and in-depth interviews you'll hear anywhere. So don't...
I'm here. I'm not. Do you need it?
No.
Wouldn't you rather just change it?
I think that's the camera. Yeah, that's the camera.
Y de su familia, porque si su familia...
Here's the new one. Sell the old one or he'll match. There's that website.
You can get advice from a friend who thinks he knows a lot about cars.
It overloads a little bit on
From
KNX.
Jerry Reynolds at CarPro USA. Call 1-800 County. Second clinic is in the Palm Desert right here in Fort Lauderdale. Oh, great. Okay.
behavior as alternatives. 엄마 키친?
올림픽과 볼본의 엄마 키친에서 직접 골라 먹. 눈이 나래. 21st century.
Trying to find the classical stations. I hope the Brandon clips didn't get anyone's blood pressure off the charts. You know, I hear the big room echo and the real authoritarian loud speaking with a lot of energy behind it, and that's not what we usually hear from that guy. And the big words and the well-written speech and the authoritarian way that it's being spoken with the big loud big room echo to it, just, yeah, it's kind of all designed to excite. You know, that's intentional. That's not.
1260 AM KMZT Beverly Hills, 98.3 K252FO Los Angeles, and 105.1 KKGO HD2 Los Angeles. Available online at kmozart.com, plus on your smart.
None of that's accidental. All of that's intentionally engineered to sound that way and look that way and come across that way and have that type of psychological effect. So anyway, this radio definitely is a cut above. A little extra added bonus video with some unintentional, exciting whatever. RCA, bad transistors and bad capacitor.